Welcome back, Foreign Timers. Jack from Conductive Music here with a tutorial exploiting the vocal effects within the soundtrack to make a mini horror performance, and we're going to be using the witch's song from Shakespeare's Macbeth. So let's kick off by adding a new track. Let's go over to here and we're going to go down to strings. Now these strings are pretty good. Let's have a little listen. This first section is actually only going to be using 4 notes, and those notes are going to be on the keyboard found as Z, D, G and N. The chord that these notes make up is known as a diminished seventh. You don't have to know what that means, but it's important to note one thing. The interval between all of these notes is identical. So if you move your music up or down by 3, 6, 9 or 12, you're going to get very similar sounding results. So for this first section, what we're going to do is turn our metronome on to help us record properly. So we're going to want to record on every beat. Let's give it a go. Right, let's tidy this up. So let's drag this region back to the end at bar 5. And then the next thing we're going to do is edit down to quantize and just 1/8 just to tidy up any of those rhythms I've played inaccurately. Now that was pretty straightforward to record, but let's speed this up. And we're going to do that by going into the piano roll editor here. So here we have the piano roll editor for the notes we've just played in. Now we want to speed these up because sometimes it can be difficult to play them in at the speed you want. So let's highlight all of them. Oh, going to be inside the box again. There we go. And let's just drag them so they're about half the length. Now if we play this through, there's going to be lots of gaps. So all we're going to do is we're just going to bring the notes across so they're actually next to one another. See, creating that little line up there. And I'm going to do that same for each of these. So once we've done this, let's drag our region back because we've only got a 2-bar region. But I'm going to copy this bit across because I actually wanted a longer pattern. So let's hold down Option and drag across. Now let's give this a listen. Now I like the way these patterns are working. I'm going to copy this second section. Don't forget, it's exactly the same as the first. So Alt or Option across, and again Alt or Option and across. Now let's change these. So I'm going to put this first one up by 3 semitones. There you go. And this next one across, I'm going to put up by 6 semitones. And the final one I'm going to put down by 3 semitones. Okay, let's have a listen to that. Right, let's add a new string track underneath that. So again, back to strings. And let's take this first region and let's copy it directly down onto that one there. Now if we go into the edit function here, if we quantize these notes to 1/4, we'll actually start to see quite an interesting change to the pattern. Let's have a listen. So if I zoom in on the piano roll here, what you'll see is that quantization has moved any of our notes around so that they come on the strong beat. So on that first beat, second beat, third beat and fourth beat. What's happened is you can use the quantize, if you've got many notes, you can use it to simplify patterns, and here is actually very useful for what we want to do. So taking this pattern, I'm going to loop our bar till we get to the end of bar 8. Next, I'm going to raise these notes by 12 semitones, which is an octave. and we'll make them stand out a little bit more. Let's have a listen. Next, let's add a bass string part to this. So again, our favourite one on strings, and I'm going to use the first thing we recorded. We're using this a lot, so I'm going to option click this one down, and I'm going to drag the region, not the loop, the region this way, right to the end of our section there, so it just ends at bar 8. Now I'm just going to zoom into the piano roll, so here we go, and I'm going to delete all of those notes by just selecting them and clicking on the delete button. So I want to space out these notes. We've got 4 notes and we've got 8 bars. So let's make this first note really long by dragging it out. To move this one across and do the same. A third note, and you've got to be a bit careful here because you can move up and down very easily. Go, and our last note over here, just to start on that one. There we go. Let's drag that one out too. Just a little bit more. So we have our bass line here, but the problem is the notes are too high. So you can either change them here by dragging this, or you can do what we're going to do, we have done before, which is go down to change pitch and -12. As you can see, they've just gone down to there to that octave, and I'm going to repeat that down -12. Before we see what that sounds like, let's increase our tempo to 180. Oops, not 180, 180, and let's give it a listen. Our poem has 14 lines and I want to use 2 bars per line. So I'm going to copy and paste this section here. I'm going to leave an extra 4 bars and I'm going to paste the final section at the end so it fits within the overall scheme. So to do that, let's highlight everything here, and I'm going to hold option and drag these across. So these are our first 4 lines of poetry, and then we have our next 4. And then we have 2 that don't really fit into that 4 structure, and then we have another 4 at the very end. So let's just do that, leaving space for those ones there. Next, let's add some loops. Now I have had a listen to some I like, and if you go to, I think it was called Hooded, which is quite ironic seeing as we were talking about the Witches one. So some of these loops over here are MIDI data and some are samples. Now the difference between those is that you can alter the MIDI ones, which is this one here, because they come with the data already for you to edit. The samples, unfortunately, you can't edit. You can cut them up, but you're not actually able to change them within the sound. So I found a few samples I really like, and they're called Kim, I think, Kim 2 and Kim 3. Let's see what comes up if I put in Kim, K-I-M. Right, we want the beats. Let's put Kim 2 on there. So I'm going to take the loop off that, and I'm also going to bring over Kim 3 here, that's the one. And again, take the loop off there. So I found the beats I like, and I'm going to space them out so there's a little bit of variety between all of them. And before we continue, I'm going to show you a trick of how we condense the number of tracks on the screen. Okay, so as I was saying, if you have a few tracks like this, but you're pretty much happy with it, and you'd like to use other tracks, there is a really useful function, and it's up here on settings. Now, if you go down to merge tracks, what you're going to need to do is select all of them, and that's fine here because we do want all of these material, and then click on merge. So let's bring up our poem and practice recording it into Soundtrap. Don't forget, it's going to be 2 bars of music per 1 line of poetry. What I would do is just put the loop on and really get the sort of sound for it you'd like. I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then when I've finished, I'm going to chop the file up into 14 different regions, each of 2 bars representing 1 line of the poem each. I'm going to create 2 more vocal tracks under there, so you can just do that by clicking on, like we did the first time. Now this top voice is going to be like our normal voice-ish. We're going to put a few effects on. This middle one is going to be our low voice, and the bottom one's going to be our high voice. So with each of the regions on the lower voice, I'm going to change the pitch by -6 semitones. And with each of the regions on the upper voice, I'm going to change the pitch by +6 semitones. Now let's go and have a look what extra vocal effects are available on Soundtrap. Okay, so starting with our lowest voice, let's put some effects on. Now I've changed the preset here to Space Face, and that works really nicely. And you can see what effects that actually come up with Space Face by clicking on that button there. We've got delay and we've got tremolo. I think I'm going to need to play around with these little bits, so I'll do this altering these until I get the sound I like. And for our final highest voice, I'm going to add some stereo chorus. So again over here, down to effects, and stereo chorus is, where is it hiding? There we go, stereo chorus below.
Fire burn and cauldron bubble. 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 Fire burn and cauldron bubble.
Now for the last step of processing on these voices, because we have 3 of them, let's pan the lower one to the left. See, pan. We'll just drag that to the left there. And with one below, let's just pan that one to the right, just to give us a little bit of imaging on these voices. And let's have a listen.
For a charm of powerful trouble,
So as a surprise, I'm going to show you one of the coolest things I've found on Soundtrap. And I wasn't joking about it being cool. So go over to add new track, piano and keyboards, click on this piano button there and go to other. Right, let's see if we can find, can you see there? It says horror sound effects, SFX. Give that a click. Now what we're going to do is solo this track, and I'm going to show you exactly how this works. So each of the keys at the bottom has a specific horror effect, and I'm just going to go through now and show you what they are. So whack the loop on and experiment with this very, very cool collection of sound effects. Now, let's go back to the track we started with at the beginning of the tutorial to compare the sounds. So we've come to the end of the tutorial today. Thank you so much for joining me. I really hope you've had fun exploring some of the vocal effects available within Soundtrap. As ever, take care of yourselves and please stay safe.